So I really am, as Todd says, I'm trying to stay away from eBay. But somebody asked me, Brian Sindler asked me to help him find a 62 MAS. So I looked at the ones available on eBay, and there were a bunch for like $4,000 or whatever, $4,000, $5,000, and there was one for a lot less or best offer. And I'm like, and I looked at it, and I'm like, it was clearly the best one, clearly the best one. And he looked, I said, and he was like, wow, I would have completely missed that one. But I guess what we can do is, he said I would have missed that one, but basically he wasn't going to be able to buy it at this point. It was something he was going to hope that maybe it didn't, that it didn't get sold, and that maybe he could sell some things and make it happen. I couldn't risk that somebody else would buy it. So I made I made an offer on it, and the person accepted it. So I said I'd never own another one, and yet we have one.
Wow, I had no idea that happened. Okay.
I've got to do some work on it. I know you didn't know. But it's like, this is, talk about a jewel in the rough. It's got a couple of things, but that I can cure. It was serviced a lot. It's got a service handset. The hour and minute hands are service hands. That's not a big deal because I have original correct hands for these. Two of the loom plots have just popped out. Okay, and that makes it look bad, right?
Yep.
But I can repair that again with
Well, it probably didn't sell for a lot because not everybody can do that.
I think it just, people got distracted by that. But the thing that I looked at when I was looking at it, I was like, okay, the loom plots are missing. Okay, fine. But all the other existing loom is perfect. And it's one of the things, this actually also demonstrates my big complaint about the reissue. The reissue is the markers look, the loom is flat with the markers, so it doesn't have a 3D look. This, if you look at it, look at the shadows. Mm-hmm. Look at how deep, the loom is basically just painted on the inside of this, like painting a swimming pool. And so, anyway, that's going to be cool. But it's original. The original insert and everything. The case is sharp. Still has the brushing on the top. But this is the thing that really sold it for me. Also, it was dirty. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's scratched. It's dirty. But when I saw these 62 MASs had two different kinds of case backs. Some of the case backs were made by Diney to help out, and some of them were made by Sua. This is one of the Diney case backs. And
is that rare?
Well, it's not necessarily rare, and I personally actually prefer the horseshoe because I'm kind of crazy like that. But these ones, these have this beautiful frosted surface. You see, it's like high polish and then frosted. This is the same kind of like frosted surface you get on, like, say, coins that are like proof coins from the mint. They have this like frosted surface, and this doesn't last long. It gets worn away very quickly by wrist action. So this one's September 66, and it's got the dolphin, and you can see the beautiful frosting on it. And it was also the watch was on an ugly modern bracelet. Anyway, but I opened it up and I was like,
wow.
Yeah. I was like, that's beautiful.
I wonder if maybe the loom popped off right away and the guy was like, I don't want to wear this anymore.
Well, maybe. He sent it in for service multiple times.
Huh.
It has standard watchmaker scrawl in there that you can see, but that's a service center mark from the LA Seiko Service Center.
Huh.
But one of the other service center marks, it looks like it's either, I can't quite tell, it looks like it's either 67 or 71, depending on which way you're trying to read it. But yeah, whoever owned this thing sent it back a number of times. And but it's been worked on, and it's in one of the things I was looking for, which I didn't see, I don't see, which is always a deadly thing. These tend to, the winding weight, they tend to loosen up, and so you get the winding weight whapping around and grinding over the edge of this plate.
That's if it's worn a lot, right?
Yeah, but it happens actually pretty quickly. It's not doing that at all right now. So one of the things I really want to do this weekend, if I have time, I want to do two things. I want to pull all the wheels off the MG and put it on blocks. And the other thing I want to do is I really want to restore this watch. I think that would just be lots of fun. Yeah, I said that we were never going to own another one, but, this one is, I can't believe the guy accepted my offer. It's not like I took him or anything, but It's a nice watch. That's a really sweet one. And what's crazy too, another thing, is that when you have watches like this, original watches that clearly never got water inside and sat in someone's drawer for decades without a lot of oxygen getting through, the lume actually still glows a little.
Really?
Yeah, it does. For longer than you'd think. And I found that, like, if you get like original hands that are still sealed in their bubble pack and they've never been opened, they'll glow.
Oh.
I think it's an oxygen thing, but I'm not sure. Anyway, so this weekend I'll make a video about restoring this watch. That should be fun. Okay, Saturday evening. I've done all my stuff, chore-y things, so let's get going. I've got a day and a half to resurrect this, so let's get it done. Sorry for the noise. I hope that won't be there for every clip, but it'll probably be here for a lot of them. Let's get going. Okay, winding bridge is off. Barrel and train bridge looks pretty good. I'm gonna need to pull, obviously when I pull it, I'm gonna look at the bushings, but so far it looks decent. The winding bridge had some gruck around it, but nothing major. Now the 6217s are known for having orange on them, not gold. So like orange like that. Looks like this balance cock might have been replaced with one from another 6200, but it doesn't matter really functionally. I do have a balance cock with the orange printing on it, but I don't know that I want to go that nuts. I mean, maybe I will. We'll see how I feel when the time comes. The biggest problems these 6200s have is the usual mainspring arbor wear. Doesn't look too bad, but I'll have to pull it apart and we'll see. Yeah, it looks, we're looking pretty good so far. I don't think it had a lot of miles after its last service, a lot of hours, I should say. There's a little bit of the S2 lubricant coming out of here, but nothing major. All told, I think it looks pretty clean. I think the gentleman probably wore it for some time, but not a whole lot. I don't know. Let me keep getting it. Yeah, it's always something to pull one of these and see. You ignore the missing loom. Look at the rest of the dial. Look at the color of the loom. The dial surface, how clean and shiny it is. There's one dial flaw, and it's an extremely small surface scratch right here. Can't even really see it. Right there it is. It's right above the E. That's the only thing I can see. Ooh, man. Sorry, I have to come back to this. I mean, it's heartbreaking. In a good way, but it's heartbreaking. Look at the marker tops. Look at the tops of the markers on the dial as the reflection runs over them. God. Look at them. Look at them. Jeez, oh Pete. Wow. Okay, so we have the dial off. We know that the case back is dated September of 66. The dial is October of 66. So produced right around that same time. Normally it's the month before, but it must be different here. Interesting, by the way, I noticed this right there, that little cutout, and I'm like, why do they have that little cutout there? It's not something I remember seeing before. Then I realized it goes right over this. This is the minute wheel. But what's interesting is that this minute wheel, that cutout in the dial is to make room for this extra gear on top. The extra gear on top is for the extra when you have one of these in a world time watch and you need a 24-hour wheel on it. So it's really interesting that they have that on there, that it's a common part. I don't remember seeing that before. Anyway, onward and upward. So I'm inside now looking at the keyless works. The keyless works are one of the sort of the Achilles heels of this particular movement family. They're the ones that when you're trying to set the time and it just sort of feels like it's skipping. It's because it's an imprecise setting. But hey, I found something interesting. What's that? Right there. That is a chunk of the dial loom. stuck inside the keyless works. That's one of the markers, or part of it anyway. Very interesting. Okay, and so I have the 2 screws out for the keyless works. This one screw sits right here, and this this little guard, sorry, I'm moving slowly here. This little guard sits right here and holds that all together. And then you have, this is the, there's a couple things. This is the typically the offending part. There's actually, well, I lied. There's a couple parts. Come on, get out of there. So there's one, that's the quick corrector. And then you have, so that's going to be one part that's going to be, because spring pressure is a deal, but it's like if these teeth get worn, that starts to be a problem. And then the other problem, of course, is this right here, winding pinion, that right there. And if those teeth get worn, then you start getting more skipping. And the last thing is just sort of wear on these ports, because you go back and this lever is supposed to hold it firmly with this, but if it's an overly complicated system, and there's a reason that Seiko didn't do this after this. And there's our happy dappy spring. There's that little diddly. And you know what's amazing is you can tell they knew it was a problem, because that, in terms of a set lever spring, that's really burly compared to what is used in other places. And there's that little baby. There's that. And we have this little keeper, springy diddly doohickey. And then we have this whole thing should come out. Come on, get out of there. I might have to get right on top of this to see it, rather than to come out. Okay, I'm gonna get right on top of that. Okay, so I got all the keyless work stuff out, and you can see, if you look carefully, there are little flakes of green Dynalume everywhere, all through this. I can see pretty clearly under magnification. You can see a little bit of it here, wherever you see a sort of little white mark, that's lume. So, wish I'd found more of it. Every little bit helps, but it'll help. Looking at the train now, underneath of the barrel and train bridge, you can see the S2 lubricant scunge around that upper bushing there. I'm gonna look at the 2 bushings for the center and the third wheel, fourth wheel, third wheel, see how those are faring here in just a second. We've got our wheel here. There it is, in all of its glory. Isn't that neat? And then we come over here, we pull our third wheel. Now, I just did a 5740 movement, and interestingly, it shares a good amount of stuff with this watch. There's certain things that transfer right over, but this part in the Lord Marvel this is actually jeweled, which is kind of neat. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, I have the plate ripped down, and I have the balance and balance cock back in place, because this is a good way to send it through the cleaner. It holds the balance as it should, and it works nicely. Now, sorry for the screaming. It is a weekend after all. The kids are not yet in bed. Jesus. So I'm starting to pull the stem and crown apart, because that needs to be done. Jesus. Good reminder that Seiko glued these together. See that white stuff there? Glue. Working on cleaning out the case right now. I pulled the rotating ring. I've cleaned it off on the inside, but I looked at the scunge that was in here. It's always interesting. This black stuff, by the way, this is the remnants, the S2 lubricant from the mainspring. And the S2 lubricant has graphite in it, and it gets into the cracks of my fingers, and it looks like I've been servicing cars all day. So it is what it is. Anyway, in case anyone cares, I looked very carefully at this scunge. It appears to be a mix of, there's a lot of looks like almost like wool fiber, like wool dust, cloth dust in it, almost like dryer lint, and some arm hairs, short arm hairs. And when I was removing it from the inside of the this, I got a very clear odor of pipe tobacco. So we know a little bit more about the owner, I think. Wore wool, smoked pipe. It has been a long, long night. Long, long night. My goodness. It is way past my bedtime, but I really wanted to get this running so that I could tomorrow assemble it and start working on the dial, which I did not dare touch tonight. Hang on a second. Would you stop it? Stop fighting me. Yeah, I'm pretty punchy. I should not be doing this kind of work right now. But, you know, it is what it is. And there she glows, alive. Ticking in. These run, even though they're only 18,000 BPH, when they're real steady rockers. They got a big balance, and so they have a lot of positional stability. And when they're ready to go, they're good. They're solid. So I got some work to do. I got to deal with that dial tomorrow, and we'll see how it goes. So there's the movement, alive. Okay, let's see. All right, it's just a few minutes later, not even that, maybe a minute later. I just put this on the time grapher. I haven't done anything to the watch. I haven't adjusted it, nothing. That is going to be a damn good runner. Holy cow. Gotta love them. They're slow, but boy, they hold up. Wow. I haven't done a thing to it except service it. Drop on the balance. Wow. Well, let's see what it does tomorrow morning. Woo. I couldn't sleep, so I just kept working, and it has been 14 solid hours of work, something like that. I think it looks a little better, don't you think? I still need to work on perfecting the replaced loom plots, but they look pretty good. It's just that I need to make the surface a little more matte, but that's all original vintage Seiko Danny loom. I had to get a bunch of different varieties though to try to get that green brown color. Cleaned up nicely. Cleaned up nicely. Oh, and it's running like a dream. Now, I gotta decide what to do with it. Well, I hope you could hear me. Woof. Good night.